This video is brought to you by pinesandmaples.ca, where you can find all kinds of great Canadian products made by Canadian creators. Enjoy!
Following his visit to Fort Pitt, Kane made the journey back to Fort Edmonton without incident. He remained at Edmonton until April 12th, when he left with 6 men and 20 horses for Rocky Mountain House, where a party of Blackfoot was said to be inbound. On the first day of the journey, the travelers killed a buffalo cow whose calf had been trailing behind her. Hoping to procure fresh veal for supper, Kane tied his scarf around the calf's neck and tried to drag it along behind his horse. But it plunged and tried so violently to escape that I was about to kill it, Kane wrote. When the Indian took hold of its head and, turning up its muzzle, spat 2 or 3 times into it, when, much to my astonishment, the animal became perfectly docile and followed us quietly to the camp, where it was immediately cooked for supper. Kane and company arrived at Rocky Mountain House on April 22nd, some of the travelers suffering from snow blindness. This fort, Kane wrote, is beautifully situated on the banks of the Saskatchewan, in a small prairie, backed by the Rocky Mountains in the distance. In the vicinity was a camp of Assiniboine lodges, formed entirely of pine branches. It was built for the purpose of keeping a supply of goods to trade with the Blackfoot Indians, who come there every winter, and is abandoned and left empty every summer. It is built like most of the forts, of wood, but with more than ordinary regard to strength, which is thought necessary on account of the vicious disposition of the Blackfoot tribe, who are, without exception, the most warlike on the northern continent. The factor of Rocky Mountain House at that time was an Anglo-Cree Métis named Jemmy Jock, who had lived among the Blackfoot for many years, and had once been a Blackfoot chief. One temporary resident of the post at that time was an Assiniboine chief named Mamin, or Feather, whose portrait Kane sketched. When the chief saw the sketch and his people's favourable reaction to it, he gifted Kane a bear claw necklace, which he had worn for 23 years. The Assiniboines who resides in the vicinity of this fort, Kane wrote, I found the most kind and honourable of any tribe that I have ever met with. There was nothing to eat at Rocky Mountain House, except a few rabbits, and after 10 days of malnourishment, during which the Blackfoot failed to arrive, Kane decided to return to Edmonton. Accompanied by Jemmy Jock, he rode east, hoping to avail himself of the contents of a cache which the Métis had built by the river. Instead of the dried buffalo meat they expected to find, the travelers discovered a fat wolverine trapped inside the cache. Apparently, the animal, in a scrawny and starving state, had squeezed through the logs that comprised the cache walls and gorged itself on the provisions therein. By doing so, it became so fat that it could not make its escape through the same hole in the wall through which it had entered. Kane and Jock killed the wolverine and made a meagre supper out of the few scraps of meat they managed to salvage from the cache floor. The travelers rode on through a fierce blizzard, eager to reach the destination before malnutrition sapped their strength. They arrived at Edmonton after a 3-day journey, during which they were required to leave their spare horses behind. On May 22nd, the York Company Express arrived at Rocky Mountain House. After waiting out a 3-day storm, they embarked on their York boats and took on Kane as a passenger. They rowed and sailed down the North Saskatchewan River, making a 2-day stop in Fort Pitt.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our website pinesandmaples.ca, where you can find all sorts of great Canadian products.